Do you want more time, clear vision, and have some future planning? Let's make 2023 the biggest jump yet. On August 16th at 9 a.m. Eastern, I'm opening 8 spots for one on one consulting. Are you a little bit nervous about this year? We've got your back. If you want to be removing yourself from the daily tasks, if you want a clear vision, and if you want to plan for multiple scenarios, this consulting package is for you. By the end of our 6 months together, you will have completed a clear process to remove things from your plate, examine what should be added, and know how and when to hire or outsource. We'll create a quarter by quarter plan that outlines the 3 biggest building blocks that you want to achieve in the next year, and we'll examine, plan, launch, and assess your money situation. We'll meet together for 6 months for a total of 12 sessions together. You'll get to come to my 2-day intensive here at my house in October with other private practice owners just like you. You'll get phone support, project management, and access to all of our communities here at Practice of the Practice. On top of all of that, you'll get discounts on support such as IT, copywriting, design, and social media. With everything included in this package, that would be over $2,000 a month. But 8 people are going to go back to our 2016 prices of $895 per month. If you want to grab one of these spots, make sure you're on the wait list. Head on over to practiceofthepractice.com/consulting deal because this sold out in 4 hours last January. You are not going to want to miss this. Again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/consulting deal to be on the wait list. Or head on over to that website on August 16th at 9 a.m. Eastern to grab your spot. When it's sold out, and we won't be offering this deal for a while. So jump on in and make 2023 the biggest jump yet. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 897. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice the Practice podcast. I am so excited for this series that we are doing that's going to be covering all the things we did in Level Up Week earlier this year. And this series is all about giving a spotlight to some amazing guests that we had. We wanted to make sure that you, if you missed it, were able to get this education. It's something that's been only available to our membership communities for the last 6 months or so. And now we are letting you have access to it if you didn't attend Level Up Week earlier in the year. Also, wanted to make sure that you know that on September 18th through September 21st, we have Level Up Week 2023. So make sure that you come to Level Up Week. We are going to have tons of amazing speakers, amazing panels on everything from starting your practice, starting a group practice, and growing a group practice, as well as things like passive income, and really just leveling up in a new way in your private practice. So make sure you're on that interest list. You'll get all those dates and all those registrations emailed to you over at practiceofthepractice.com/level up. So without any further ado, let's dive into today's episode. First of all, welcome. So glad you're here. It's just amazing. We have 1,300. Actually, yesterday's numbers were 1,300 people. They're signed up for Level Up Week. Today alone, 503 people had signed up before I started the day. So we probably had even more than that. So an amazing amount of people, a huge infusion of energy to just feel like we're serving you, we're joining you, we're finding these things that you asked for. Last September, and I know a bunch of you filled out our feedback form in September of what do you want more of, and systems and practical operations was one of our top things. So that's why I'm bringing in my friend Michael today that I'll introduce you to in just a second to really have us walk through some really awesome systems for operations. So first, I'm Joe Sanok. If you haven't met me, I'm the founder of Practice of the Practice. We have a podcast, we have a website. We've helped thousands of therapists, coaches, counselors to build the practice of their dreams, but not just the practice of their dreams, one that actually thrives and makes them money and doesn't burn them out and mirrors the values. I like to think that we help therapists be a little less lonely, that they get to go to things like this and be around people that inspire them. even hosting fun things like our happy hour we're doing at 8:30 tonight Eastern, to just get to know each other a little bit more outside of just the business world. So I get to raise two awesome daughters. We have a lot of fun playing outside, playing board games. We played Cards Against Humanity, the family version, the other day, which was a lot of fun. And just some of the things that an 8-year-old puts down. I know I shared that yesterday, but it's still cracking me up. I should have taken a picture of what Lake and my 8-year-old put down. Like, she just didn't know how inappropriate it was that she put down. But it was funny because, like, the family version, it's family friendly things, but that, has a little bit of pee and poop in there. And, the kids think it's so dang hilarious. So we like having fun together as well. And I would love for you guys to meet Michael. So Michael's the director of marketing at The Receptionist in Denver, Colorado, one of my favorite towns in the whole US. Went to Meow Wolf there last June and hung out in Denver. My partner Claire has a family house out in Colorado, so I end out there at least once a year. So next time we're out there, Michael will have to hang out in person. That would be a lot of fun. But Michael has been leading marketing teams and companies large and small, and he used to be an award-winning journalist. Well, I guess you're still award-winning. You won those awards, so it's not a past thing. So Michael, welcome to this webinar today.
Thank you so much, Joe, and thank you to everyone who's continuing to pop in here and join this session. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I live in Colorado with my wife and our two children and our two dogs. And I too am a podcaster, so thus the setup that you see here, where it looks like I'm in my spa resort here out in Colorado. But I'm very excited about this today to hopefully help y'all scale up and level up your businesses.
Yeah. What's the name of your podcast again? And tell people a little bit about it in case they're looking for new podcasts.
Yeah, I actually host two. So the one that we do here at The Receptionist is called the Fabric Podcast. And Fabric stands for our core values: fun, authentic, bold, respectful, innovative, and collaborative. And we're exploring company culture. Joe has been a guest on that show. And then I host my personal podcast, which is called The Follow-Up Question, which I'm exploring how we communicate well with each other, especially across conflict and disagreements.
Love it. Yeah. So if you want some new podcasts, go check those out. So this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about why most practice owners suck at systems. We're going to talk about the mindsets to improve your approach to systems. And then we're going to walk through specific systems that will help you to expand faster with less stress. Okay. So why most practice owners suck at systems is how are you at creating, implementing, and giving feedback on your systems? So we'd like to know where you're at. So in the chat, when you think about your own creation, implementation, and then giving feedback on systems, if 0 would be you are so terrible, you are probably the worst therapist in the world at systems, and 10 is you probably should have gone into lean manufacturing and systems management, and you just happen to have got a therapy degree, that would be a 10. So let's think a little bit about why that is. You don't know what systems you want is oftentimes one of the reasons we suck at it. That we haven't even thought through, like, okay, so people say I should have an EHR. I'm private pay. People just pay me. Like, do I even need a system for that? Or if people come in, do I need to have a system for why we don't take insurance? So even just taking the time to say, like, what is the system I want and why do I want it? That takes time to focus in on that. It's sort of like if you think about budgeting your money. If you don't know that you're saving up for some epic vacation across Iceland, it's hard to say why you're going to save $1,000 a month or $100 a month. You need to know what you actually want. As well, you don't know why you want it. So I've worked with so many consulting clients, and even recently I was talking to a few of them. And it's interesting how sometimes when I have a bunch of consulting clients on the same day, how oftentimes the same topics come up in all of those discussions. And one of the topics was, I know I should be doing, and then fill in the blank. So I know I should be blogging. I know I should be doing more Instagram. I know I should be doing profit first. And when I would ask, well, why? Like what's broken where you need that? You're completely full. You are filling up your therapists, and you're saying that you should be blogging, you should be doing social media, you should be doing all these things. Like, why do you want it? And so even looking at something like Profit First, which I think is a solid way of thinking about our money, is your money management going well? Are you understanding that? And so if you don't know why you want something, you're going to really suck at the operations because there's no motivation there. It's like, if here's an example. between these last two webinars, I had an hour. And so I went for a walk, talked on the phone to a friend. Um, but what triggered that walk? Unfortunately, it wasn't just my general health. It's that I had back surgery when I was 19. And when I have a busy week and when I'm stressed or excited, my back clamps up and it starts to hurt. And guess what? Level Up Week is a busy week full of stress and excitement, and my back effing hurts. So I go for a walk. And so if we know why we're doing something, then we will do it. All right, next, you aren't clear on what success looks like or how you will measure that success. So let's look at most practices. I want to have 25 clients a week. Why? Well, I want to make this much money. Okay, well, why is that 25? So we may look at, okay, I ran the numbers and my private pay rate's 150, my insurance rate's 100. On average, I'm getting $132 per session based on my regular numbers. I've reverse engineered exactly how much I need to take home for my family. So I know that I need to be at 20 sessions. Awesome. Now we know exactly what success looks like. It's 20 sessions a week, which means you may have to schedule 22 for no shows or cancellations, and then measuring that. The same is true with our operations and the systems that we've set up. If we aren't clear on what success looks like and how we're going to measure it, which is the part that so many therapists miss, is that follow up and feedback side, then you're not going to be very good at it. All right. Another thing that we often mess up or that we don't do well is you don't see the ROI in your time compared to money. That when you save time, you're actually making more money. The amount of therapists that I talk to that, even in a couple of the webinars today, and this is such a common mindset of, no one can do it as well as I can. And oftentimes that's true. Oftentimes it's true that right now, no one can do it as well as you, but maybe over time, a system or a person or a technology could actually do it better if you onboarded that system or that technology or that person. Because if we think you're making 125 a session or you're making 150 a session or $300 a session, whatever that is, that hour that you're spending, you could be seeing another client. You could be putting that energy into expanding. You could put that time and that money and all of that into something else. So if you're making 150 a session, you could easily buy 3 or 4 hours from a virtual assistant to expand things for you. So that ROI in regards to time and saving time actually equals more money. Most people don't recognize that. Also, clients are mostly satisfied, and you and they don't see how a system upgrade could be better. So, if things are clicking along, it's that whole, well, it's not broken, why fix it? Well, your clients probably aren't going to come to you and say, you know what, your check-in process, it's a little wonky, or it's kind of weird how when I walk in the door, like, 3 therapists poke their heads out like they're gerbils or something to see if it's their client, or boy, it was confusing with that onboarding for the intake. Most therapy clients are just happy you answered the phone and returned the phone call, or actually got in there. They don't want to frustrate you by saying, not to be nitpicky, but your system flow was a little off and a little frustrating. They're mostly satisfied. It's like, if you have a decent meal and it didn't cost that much and it wasn't maybe an A plus, you're not going to complain. The other day, I got a burger at Bubba's Burgers. It was called the Shrek Burger. It was the most expensive burger on the menu and it just sounded weird. And it had like this deep fried cheese on it and it had jalapenos. And when that thing came out, it was so big. Literally, I ate a quarter of the burger and it wasn't even that good. But it wasn't bad enough for me to complain and make a scene and be like, I want a refund for this mega burger. Like, I was mostly satisfied. I kind of went into it as like, we'll see how it turns out. That's how a lot of clients are. And that's also how a lot of therapists are. They don't even see how an upgrade could make things better or help them scale differently. So an example I think of is my massage therapist, Erica. She's also a friend of mine. In December, she started sending automatic text reminders after she had raised her rates. So when I first started seeing her, was like 150 for a 90-minute session, which felt like a steal, and then 175, and now it's 200. It's like, oh man. But it added this little extra, hey, just a reminder, tomorrow morning you have an appointment at this time. It added a level of professionalism. I imagine her no-show rate went down. And I actually told her, like, wow, it feels like you're really becoming like a real professional with this. And we're friends enough that like I can say that and it's not an insult. So when she did that, it made the illusion of who she is as a professional stronger. It made it a lot better. Also, I get my haircut at Bulldog's Barbershop. They use Square for all of their scheduling, for everything. The second that I schedule, I get an automated text that says, your haircut on March 26th is, clearly I need one because I think it's Monday that I'm having my next haircut. It's this date. And then the day of, I get a text around it. I never had a hairstylist that texted me my haircut, but I really appreciate it. And so those little things that automate things a little bit easier make each little turn 5% better. And over time, then you have a better business. Now, I want to pause for a second before we go into mindsets to change. Michael, you've been nodding your head, and I'm going to take a breath here and a drink of water. But what does that kind of spur on for you as you hear some of those reasons that therapists often suck at their systems?
Two things came to mind, Joe. One is, in my experience in having a therapist of my own, in working with the therapists who happen to be customers of ours, um, they're wonderful. They're wonderful therapists. That's what they're trained in. That's what they went to school for. That's what they care the most about. And when you go into private practice, especially where it's on you're the therapist and the business owner, there is often this gap that exists between this is why I got into therapy, to do sessions and help people and guide them and help them with whatever issue they may be bringing to the table. But then you layer on top of it the business side of things, where I've got to know, Joe, everything that you just have outlined here. And like I said, there's this gap here. And that is what a system can help fill in, is the gap between therapist, what I've been educated and trained to do, and I do really well, and business owner, which especially in the beginning, as I'm just opening things up, that can take some time to feel like things are running a bit more smoothly. That's certainly what I hear a lot. On the other side, or to go into the last point that you were just making, Joe, we heard from one of our customers, Kelly Ulmer. She runs Bloom Counseling and Nutrition in Fort Collins, Colorado, so just up the road from us here in Denver.
That's where Dana lives, our accountability
there you go.
person. Yeah, coach.
She said that having systems, investing in systems, when she opened Bloom Counseling and Nutrition, to that last point you just made, Joe, made her feel more legit as a business owner. Like, I'm doing this thing. This is mine. I've got these systems in place. The perception out there to anybody who interacts with me is going to be top notch, not just because of who I am as a person and the quality of care and services that I provide, but because every interaction I've thought about it. And that's what I love about the therapy space and practitioners is y'all are so great at thinking of so much about the patient experience when they're in front of you, like directly face to face. And what Joe, I think, is really getting at is, what are all the other aspects where you touch your patients away from the face to face? And that may have been a not great phrase to use there, but hopefully y'all get what I'm getting at there.
So awesome. Well, some of the mindsets that we need to change, and then we're going to look at a few systems, is the idea that your staff and clients won't tell you have to be proactive. So you have to realize that they are not going to be proactive in the same way that until we sent out a survey after the last Level Up week in September to our guests that came and presented like Michael, to our people that came and participated in Level Up week, and to our staff, I didn't realize just how much my ideas and, we could do this and this, just disrupted things, and it made it wonky, and we missed a lot of opportunities. So I had to have a system to figure out how to improve our systems. Also, feedback should not be an occasional thing. It's what refines the system. So take Jen, who just got hired as my executive assistant in January, so just a couple months ago. We meet daily for about 15 minutes every single day so that we can talk through what's working and what's not working. At her level of onboarding, 2 months in, I don't want her to miss something and then have us meet in a week and be like, oh my gosh, you went down this path the completely wrong way. And now I'm going to have to pay you to undo that 5 hours of work, and I'll put you 5 to 10 hours in a different direction. So giving that feedback as a regular thing, not just me to her, but from her to me. that she can say, I learn better this way, or I communicate better this way, or can we, talk within a Trello board instead of via text, or, can we have a checklist in Trello, or I'll put it in Trello, or whatever it is that we're going to use, that feedback is part of the process. It's not for an annual review. Also, that ROI can be on staff time, not direct money. So if you're saving your staff time, if you're saving your staff frustration or anxiety, or even their progress notes take less time, they can see more clients. They can feel more refreshed. They might stay at your practice longer instead of burning out as quickly. There's a lot that can be part of the ROI of systems that you pay for, that you set up, that is not direct money, but can be tied back to outcomes that help strengthen your business. So first, let's look at saving time as a system. To take any task and to say, can I eliminate this task? Is what I've created still even applicable? Maybe we can just say, no, we don't need to do as many Instagram stories as we were doing. No, that's not working anymore. Instagram's not getting us any new clients. Like, let's just put in like an hour a week to keep it slightly, on base. Can we delegate that to someone else, either within the business or that we hire, to take it off of your plate? And Rory Vaden made up this model. It's called procrastinate on purpose. And the idea is that first you're going to say, can I eliminate this? Then can I say, can I delegate this? Then can I automate this through some sort of system or some sort of software as a service? So by the time it comes to you, then you can ask the question, is this now even important to my key performance indicators? And if it's not, you're going to procrastinate on purpose and then put it back at the top of that funnel, let it sit there guilt-free. And if it's important, by the time it goes through all of this, you can say, okay, I do need to actually work on that thing. So good systems will improve your workflow. They should create very clear expectations for you, for the individuals, for whatever seat they are sitting in within your practice. Good systems will give you feedback. So they'll give you a dashboard. They'll say, here's how many people checked in. It'll say, here's how much profit and loss you have. And they should be reducing stress and frustration. You should say, oh my gosh, what was I doing before this system? Like, this is bonkers to me that I was doing that by hand. Like, I just think about my system when I first started my practice of keeping track of receipts. It was literally, I took a receipt and I put it in a drawer. And in January, I dumped all those receipts out on the dining room table and I itemized them for what I had written on there: marketing, networking, website, literally hundreds of receipts that I was doing. Then the next year, I gave a box of those receipts and paid someone to itemize those instead of using QuickBooks, where it could just link to my bank account and automate all of that. So once I had QuickBooks, which is $9 a month, I was like, oh my gosh, Joe, like, you are so amateur at this, but we're all there. So tried to have some grace for myself. So systems for money, gusto.com. If you use /Joe, you'll get 6 months for free. They've been a partner for a while. And that's what we use for all of our W-2 payments. They help set up all of the state taxes and pull out all that stuff that I don't want to have to think about. And so they help figure all of that out. Gusto's been a great service for us. When it comes to 1099s, it's up to you. I believe it's like $20 a month for each 1099. But there's not a whole lot of value in that other than, it just is all in one system. QuickBooks, the business tool, that's $9 a month. I think if you do quickbooks.com/Joe, you get something free that we set up a long time ago. So QuickBooks is a great way to keep track of all of your money coming in. And then Profit First is a book by Mike Michalowicz. We've been giving away some of those as prizes that Rocky, our Profit First professional, who's going to be talking tomorrow morning, gave away. And Rocky's doing a handful of free business assessments. But the idea is that you're taking the profit out and putting it in a separate account before you even do your operations. So it's not like you as the owner get this leftover money at the end of the month, that every single month money is switching over and going into your profit account. Some systems for people is the lean manufacturing plan, do, check, adjust system. If you Google lean, Lean, it started out as a manufacturing way of thinking about systems. But if it works with making an automobile, it definitely will work with what we're doing, in that it's, you plan, you do it, you check it, and you adjust it. And I actually went through a whole lean manufacturing training when I was working at the community college, applying it to our student life department. That ongoing feedback we talked about, and then KPI planning, so key performance indicator planning. So having a system for saying, a year from now, what are the 2 or 3 big picture KPIs that I want for the business? And then breaking that down quarter by quarter. So, for example, we said we want to strengthen our membership communities. And then every single quarter, we have projects that lead to that. So, making our circle community more robust, making sure our Ask the Experts are people that our members want to hear from. So, making sure that you're doing that KPI planning. Some systems for content to master are AI and Chat GPT. If you haven't jumped into the Chat GPT world, it is mind blowing what kind of content this AI can create. And I know there's a lot of questions and ethics around it, but to even just be able to say, write a 900-word blog post about anxiety and treatment for anxiety as a starting template. We don't have to sit down and just create information. We can now add in our own flavor to it, but have a lot of that pre-written. Even just to say, can I have 15 ideas for titles of blog posts about seasonal affective disorder? And then have it spit out just a bunch of ideas for you. It can be a great idea generator. Using Google Trends, you don't even have to log in. It's just trends.google.com. You can compare things. You can say, in my area, does counseling get searched more or does therapy get searched more? If therapy gets searched more, you want to use the word therapy more rather than, using the term counseling. So using those systems to help you have better content. And then lastly, having a system for capturing your own ideas. So oftentimes this is in sessions where you have these ideas as you're talking to people and you're saying it over and over and over. Do you have a note on your phone for content ideas when you can capture it in the moment? And then lastly, before I hand it over to Michael, is systems for clients. The receptionist for iPad, Michael's going to show us that. It's an amazing way to check people in and to really automate your check-in process. We've partnered with the receptionist for 2, 3 years now. I feel like we've been around for a while with you guys. And to just see people use it and how streamlined it makes things is just amazing. And then EHR-wise, Therapy Notes has been a sponsor for a long time. And really, as we look at client data, not your client data, but look at the clients that are using it and what they're saying, Therapy Notes tends to be the best one that we have found. If you are in one of our membership communities and you sign up for Therapy Notes, you can get 6 months for free. They usually only give away 2 or 3 months. Once you sign up for Therapy Notes using promo code Joe, that'll give you 3 months. Then just email us and say, hey, I'm in Next Level Practice. I'm in Group Practice Launch, Group Practice Boss. Can I get the 6 months for free? And then we'll pass that on to their marketing people. They don't even give us a code because they don't want it to get out. But we negotiated that we get the best deal out there of anyone. So Michael, I'm going to let you walk us through the receptionist for iPad because I'm just blown away with how seamless it is. And I know I said at the top of the hour we'd be done, but I took up most of our time there. So I know you'll go for about 10 minutes or so showing us this, and then we'll take some questions and talk a little bit more. As a therapist, I can tell you from experience that having the right EHR is an absolute lifeline. I recommend using Therapy Notes. They make billing, scheduling, note-taking, telehealth, and e-prescribe incredibly easy. Best of all, they offer live telephone support that's available 7 days a week. You don't have to take my word for it. Do your own research and see for yourself. Therapy Notes is the #1 highest rated EHR system available today, with a 4.9 out of 5 stars on trustpilot.com and on Google. All you have to do is click the link below or type promo code Joe on their website over at therapynotes.com and receive a special 2-month trial absolutely free. Again, that's therapynotes.com and use promo code Joe on the website. If you're coming from another EHR, Therapy Notes will also import your demographic data quick and easy at no cost, so you can get started right away. Trust me, don't waste any more of your time and try Therapy Notes. Just use promo code Joe at checkout.
Okay, so a better way to check in clients. So I want to begin by just telling you a story. So you're in a session with a patient or a client and it's going great. And what my experience has been is usually at the end is where you really start to come to the breakthrough, or the patient finally says something that makes everything that you've discussed up to that point click, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're coming up to the end of the time here. However, you're in that session, you're having that moment, and you hear the door to your office outside open and close. Now you've got the white machine noise going, right? You may have a TV going on in the lobby, perhaps, but you hear that door open and close, and immediately what goes through your mind? Well, if you look at the clock, you glance at the clock, it's 5 minutes until that session is over, but you know somebody is out there in your waiting area or your lobby. And at this point, this is where, stop me if you've heard this before, you begin to wonder and have questions. Your mind perhaps begins to wander, or you have questions about what's happening outside your door. Now, it could be that your next appointment has arrived. You're not sure, but you know you've got one coming up here, and maybe it's their first time that they have ever walked into your office or your waiting area, and so they're brand new. Maybe it's a delivery. Maybe you order DoorDash. Maybe it's your lunch. Or maybe it is somebody new coming in who wants to inquire about your services. Who knows? The point is, you don't in that moment know. And then what about that person who just walked in the door? What do they feel? Where is their head at in terms of, I've walked into this space, no one's here, I don't know what to do next. And that right there, that moment of inflection is where the receptionist for iPad can help fill those gaps, where you can create a system to reduce a level of anxiety, set expectations for your patients as they walk into your lobby or your waiting area, and just overall, like I said earlier, give your presence as a business a kind of this level of, I like to use the word legitness, right? So it is exactly as it sounds. It's an iPad based visitor management system. What you're seeing here just happens to be a wall mounted version of that, but you can have it on a desk. You can have it on a floor stand where your patient, your client walks up to the screen. It says tap here to check in, and you begin the check in process from there, where they enter their initials. You could ask them custom questions like, is it okay to charge the card that we have on file for your session today? Or they can tap a different button if they're a delivery person dropping off, like I said, your lunch for DoorDash. There's a lot of different things that we can do here, and a lot of ways we help folks in the behavioral health and private practice space accomplish this expectation setting while reducing anxiety levels surrounding the patient check-in experience. That's, like I said, it's straightforward. You tap the button. We also have a contactless option where folks can check in from their phone or perhaps even from their car if you are working with perhaps immune compromised groups who don't want to be in a waiting area altogether. Certainly a huge point of emphasis for a lot of folks in the private practice space these days. And then one feature that our guests absolutely love is they can actually you can load your picture or your group of therapists' pictures up into the system so that they're not only tapping in to check to see the therapist that they know they're there to see, but they can see your face so they know who they are, who's going to be walking out that door to come get me. So again, it's setting expectation, which is something that a system, any system, not just the receptionist, but any sort of system like this can help you accomplish as a business owner. So I want to jump real quick into, I'm actually going to jump
Perfect.
into the back end of our system here. This is where you would see your visit log as patients check in. There's the ability to attach a note to this, to each individual visit log. And like I said, for most of our private practice customers, they're only asking for first name, last initial for privacy reasons. But you can attach a note that says this patient paid for their session today using the card on file, or we need to update patient records because they brought in a new card on file. The button screen, like I said, is completely customizable by you. It's as simple as I click the little edit button and I can go in and fill out, change the look of it. I can change the colors. I can change who is notified. And something you said, Joe, earlier that is just so, so true. We hear all the time, I we hear that door open and close in our waiting area, and we're in a group practice. So we've got 5 people in our practice, and every single one of them is having to stand up, leave their desk, and go poke their head out and say, "Oh, is it my client? No, okay, somebody will be right with you." And it's that just that level of awkwardness that we also want to help avoid. So when your patient checks in, you're going to get a text message notification or a Slack or Teams or email notification that your patient has arrived. So at the risk of going too far and deep into the weeds, I'm going to end things there. We do have a product tour that can walk you through all the things that we do to help this space. We also are, like Joe mentioned, we're a partner of Joe. So if you sign up at thereceptionist.com/practice, you'll get a month free, and in addition to a 14-day free trial. And happy to answer any questions as we go along here. But hopefully I made
Awesome.
that short and sweet
That
enough
was
for you,
great. I
Joe.
love that you have Michael Scott, Dwight Schrute, and Pam Beasley
Yes.
on there. That's a great little reference there. Cool. Well, let's talk systems, folks. Go ahead and drop some questions in the Q&A. While you're doing that, we're going to go through just a few things with our communities, just to make sure that you are aware. During Level Up Week is when we also open up all of our communities. So our communities are Next Level Practice, which is for solo practitioners, Group Practice Launch, which is for people that are going from solo to group practice. It's a 6-month program. Group Practice Boss, which is an ongoing support for group practice owners, and then Audience Building Academy. And so, are you ready to level up? Are you confused where to start? Our communities are for people that want to level up through their private practice or additional streams of income. They want that support. They want to be able to be connected to other people. They want to just shortcut the line. They don't want to be dinking around on YouTube trying to figure it out. They're just ready to grow. So, who do you want to help you? We've helped over 2,000 therapists start their private practices through our online communities. We have a proven process based on 15 years of private practice experience. Practice the Practice has been around for 11 years. We've been recognized and won 9 top consultant podcast and website awards. And our members have collected over $200 million in sales. So like I said, we have our Next Level Practice program. That's $99 per month. I know we have a whole bunch of our NLP people in here. If you are in Next Level Practice, feel free to put that in the chat so then folks can directly ask you questions about it. We have enough people applying at every phase of practice that we don't want to squeeze you into something that you don't need. We really genuinely want you to be in a program that's going to fast forward things for you at the budget that you want, and to feel like, yeah, this is exactly what I need. To have people get what you need for us, like that helps you, that helps us, instead of putting you into something you don't need. Group Practice Launch, that's $250 a month for the 6 months. So that's a highly specialized training program where you're learning exactly what you need to do, and then you're getting help and Q&A for those particular trainings. And that's every single week. We're having meetings for Group Practice Launch for over that 6-month period. You also get access to all of Next Level Practice during that time. Next up from that is Group Practice Boss. So once you have your first hire, it's $149 a month, as long as it makes sense to stay. There's no time commitment. There's no contract. It's just you keep doing it. You keep in the small groups with the accountability partners, with our trainings for running a group practice. And then the next program is another 6-month program, and that's Audience Building Academy, which walks you through step by step, how do you build an audience that's going to then help you be able to launch something national, like a e-course or a membership community. We've gone over a lot of this in a lot of the webinars, but just some things that, like Anna said, that in 2 days she got done more than she had in the last 2 years. That we just tore through it in the sprints. Or Marta had said that it helps her get a clearer vision to really understand her business idea more. Or Brian Cooper, who I believe I saw pop in here, I'm not sure if he's still in here, said that it provided the needed community and accountability to keep you moving forward and going strong. I mean, Brian, within 7 months, quadrupled his average weekly session count and came off his most profitable month to date. So this really works. Most people, I would say, end up being as full as they want to be within 4 to 6 months of joining Next Level Practice. So just think about what you're spending your time on. If you're looking on YouTube, trying to figure it out, or you're just asking the experts to say, hey, what should I do next? The ROI in your time is so important. So we have a bunch of bonuses that are listed on the website, including free logo design, email signatures. If you join Audience Building Academy, you get to come to the 2-day group retreat that I'm hosting here in Traverse City. And if you can't make it April 18th and 19th, then we're going to be hosting that later in the year as well, for consulting clients and for people in ABA. So that would be an option to come to that second one. So we have all sorts of extra things going on, but I want to make sure we get to some of these questions. Make sure you head on over to practiceofthepractice.com/level up. And that's where we're going to have all of the links for each of those communities. We've had a ton of people sign up in the last few days, people that have gone from next level practice into group practice launch or leveled up into group practice boss or audience building academy. It's really exciting to look at this next cohort of audience building academy people jumping on in there. Well, let's dive into our questions. Michael, I'll just read them so you don't have to be looking in the chat area. But let's just start at the top here. All right, we have got, where do I go to work on ChatGPT articles? So first, you'd want to sign up for a ChatGPT account. So let me pull it up just on my phone. I always just leave it up. So you first make an OpenAI account. So you'll see that's what it looks like. And then once you do that, then you use your OpenAI account to log into ChatGPT. So the way it looks is, so like I actually used, oh, my session expired. I'll have to log back in. But I said, give me an idea of a password that would make people smile. So a really basic, weird thing, but it was because we're resetting the password for all of our membership communities. And I thought, well, let's have a password that people use to get into the Zoom rooms that makes them smile when they go in. And so something like that. So you just type in whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And then you just, it spits it back out in like 20 seconds.
The
Go ahead.
specific website is openai.com.
Thank you.
And if you just need to Google it, just do ChatGPT and it'll take you right there. I feel like I want to jump in here real quick, Joe, as a communications professional and a writer and content producer at heart. What is missing from any AI generated content, whether you use ChatGPT or Jasper or anything else, I mean, it's huge in the space. You can't get away from it. Is what's missing is you and your humanity and your heart and your experience and your know-how and your wisdom and your perspective. All of those things that an AI bot could never bring to the table. So use it as Joe described earlier, use it as an idea generator, but ChatGPT is never going to be able to tell the story of that patient that you helped. It's never going to tell the story of the first time, I realized that questions were the avenue to help us find common ground and how I came to that. Like, be careful of just how deep in the weeds you go with AI generated content, because it very clearly can go down the path of just this commodity regurgitated content very, very quickly. So I love the communicator in me just had to get that point in there.
I'm so glad you did, because I think that's, there's a lot of concerns around like, is AI going to replace therapists? And it's like, no, but there's things we can use it for to shortcut or get starting points. If you just have writer's block and you're like, okay, just give me something. Next question. How would this work if you are subletting within another practice, separate iPads? Like, how does that work for the iPad, the receptionist for iPad?
So there's actually the option the feature technically is called departments, but once somebody taps to check in, you can set up the different businesses within that space as their own quote unquote departments, but they would essentially be businesses. A lot of our co-working spaces use this. So within a co-working space, we're in a co-working space. There are 50 other businesses in there. They use our system to check people in. So you'll tap the business that you're there to see, and then you'll check in with the appropriate person. So one iPad for multiple businesses, even if you're subletting.
Awesome. Next question, Joe, as you were running your practice, what was the biggest game changer systems wise that you implemented and caused the best benefit for you? Really, I think it was systematizing our intake. To have me not be responsible for the phone calls, the emails, to have intake at mentalwellnesscounseling.com, that I never saw it. People just showed up on my calendar. It took me dropping the ball completely out of the equation. And then that became a ripple effect. It's like, in the book, The One Thing, they talk about how I think it's a domino that's 66% the size of the next domino can like knock it over. And then, within what, 12 dominoes, it can go to the moon or something like that. Where I don't remember the exact formula, but it's something like that where, the smaller domino knocks over a bigger one. So it's that sort of thing where that decision to bring on a virtual assistant then made me say, well, I don't really even have a system for answering these questions. I just answer them. So then I had to document, okay, why don't we take insurance? Why are we private pay? What is a, super bill? And then, okay, now I have a different person managing all of our calendars and figuring out office space. We had 16 people in a 4 office suite. So it then became this ripple effect where it then opened up so many other systems for me. And I'd say it just cleaned things up to feel like a real private practitioner. All right, let's see. Had joined as a grad student, then rejoined Next Level Practice, solo practice again, loving this community and insights. Oh, thanks so much, Lisa. And Wendy, done group practice launch, group practice boss, and audience building academy. Oh, thanks, Wendy. Appreciate that. Brian Cooper, NLP has been fantastic. And let's see. Website for, oh yeah, we answered the Chat GPT website. Are there systems are there other systems than those for money people, content, and clients that you would identify as important categories? Yeah, Christine, I mean, there's so many different systems that we could go into. I think starting with what's the vision you have for your practice. So some people know I want to become a mega practice. I also know that I want to have W-2 employees. I know that I want these particular systems in place. Then those individual decisions would be like a choose your own adventure of which systems would be important. Michael, what would you say are some systems that, or categories of systems beyond money, people, content, and clients that you would think about in regards to that question?
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to rack my brain to see what we have used and implemented at the receptionist that doesn't fall into one of those categories of money, people, content, and clients. Um, one of the things that we recently wrote about in our Level Up Your Private Practice guide, which had nothing to do with Level Up Week, by the way. It's just happy coincidence that
Great minds think alike.
Yeah,
That's
right.
great.
One of the things that we really dove in there was promotion of yourself and your business to gain more clients. And so marketing tools and systems to use to make sure that your website is search engine optimized, for instance. That falls under content, but I feel like it's important enough to bring out here. There are search engine optimization sites. We use Ahrefs. That's Ahrefs. As a way to, and they have a free version, as a way to just judge, is our content being found? Is it optimized in a way to be found? Using that in ways, especially if you're working in a localized area or region, using that in concert with Google Analytics and Google search tools to make sure that your business profile is up to date, that just all these ways that people are going to find you and your services and your practice. There are systems and things that should probably be paid attention to. Not only that, but marketing. Are you using HubSpot, for instance, to send out marketing emails to people who are not customers? That whenever you post a new blog on your website, you're sending that out to your audience. Are you podcasting? And how do we make sure that podcast is showing up on all the major podcast players? Just I know a lot of that falls under content, but that was what immediately came to my mind is how do we get more people into our orbit so that we can eventually hopefully bring them on as customers and grow our practice.
Yeah, we might actually have a category that's above content that's maybe just like growth. And then growth is going to happen through marketing, networking, content, kind of inbound. And I think that even just having macro systems of, sure, you set up these initial systems, but then how are you checking those systems? What's ongoing? What's going to be the thing that you look at, to make sure that it's working? The EOS approach, reading the book Traction is a really good book around just systematically thinking about, are the people that are in each seat the right people in the right seats? And so, Michael may have a few different seats, with his role. So you might have the podcaster seat. Well, what are the numbers we judge him by with, that? Is it Is he putting out one podcast a week? Is it that we want him to do other things? Whereas the person at the front desk might have different numbers. So the EOS system, that's a great book. Traction also. Any recommendations for virtual assistants to streamline intake processes? What do you think, Michael?
One that I have heard a lot. So full disclosure, I have never used a virtual assistant. But one method that I use or I've heard a lot to find a virtual assistant is to go to like Fiverr or these freelance websites. I'm blanking on the name of some of the other ones. Upwork, I believe, is one, and look for virtual assistants who get really high ratings from other folks that they do. And then of course network in your community groups, Facebook circle communities. Ask around, ask other businesses besides just therapy offices perhaps, that your friends may know about. But yeah, Upwork and Fiverr were the two that immediately came to mind, but Fiverr's a little bit more on the creative side, I think.
Yeah, and let me see. I just was talking with a potential podcast sponsor. Who was that? I know her name's
And
BB.
Christine posted in the chat here, I found mine on Upwork 2 years ago, and she's been great. So I think Upwork is one
Yeah.
that I know a
All
lot
right,
of people use.
buyingtimellc.com. So the thing about working with, I mean, I think it's good to work with an agency because then if your person leaves, then you can have someone else. They're usually quite a bit more expensive. So I believe buying time starts at around $70 an hour for their virtual assistants. And so that can price out a lot of people too. The advantage of hiring your own person is that you can, pay them whatever you want and see who you get, but then you also do all the training. And if the person leaves, you have to rehire someone, retrain someone, all that. So make sure you go back to the recording of the one previous today. James and I talked all about virtual assistants earlier today, so that recording should go through pretty deep. All right, let's see. Around the virtual assistant thing, I think any recommendations for systems for VAs? Let's
None from
see.
me. Like I said, I'm not too well versed in this space.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that the systems for virtual assistants, from my perspective, is capturing how you sound. So, for example, Jen just joined the team in January as my executive assistant, and there's going to be more and more that she takes on. She's taking on my email and itemizing it, categorizing it. There's things that she's responding to as herself on behalf of me. If there's something she puts labeled for Joe that I think she could have handled, I BCC her. And she knows if I BCC her that should be then saved as a response in a library of responses so that over time she can respond in the way that I want her to respond. That's that ongoing feedback. So really starting to capture just how do you talk about things. So if someone says, do you take insurance? How do you respond to that? Like, do you take insurance? Do you not? And so I would say capturing as much of that as possible. Um, Also with virtual assistants, I wouldn't look for someone that can do everything. You want people to specialize in the areas they specialize in. Otherwise, you're going to have a B minus person in every area versus having someone that's just really good at doing phone calls and email. And maybe they're just a few hours a week at the beginning, and then you have someone else that's maybe doing your insurance billing, and then maybe you have someone else that's doing some of the marketing. When you have one person that does everything, usually they do it all adequate instead of stellar. And it's usually about the same, even if you break it up amongst people. Awesome. Well, any recommendations for managing your online presence or website creation? Um, Online presence, it would depend what part of your online presence. If we're talking social media, if we're talking, the like business directories, like Google Business, but keeping up with that. I would say having a checklist for your virtual assistant to go through on a regular basis. Michael, what kind of things do you do to look at kind of the online presence of the company, or is that
Yeah.
something you pay attention to on a regular basis?
I read this question a little bit differently in my head, so it's interesting to
Yeah.
hear you go that route. I read it as just keeping up with your online presence, maybe on
Mm.
social media, or keeping up with updating your website. At the risk of telling you to go spend more money, here's what I think, and from my experience as a marketing director, here's what I would say: batch your content, create content in bulk that you can then spread out over a period of time, whether that be podcast episode creations, whether that be blog creation, whether it be social media posts. Batch these things all in one working session or maybe a couple working sessions. What I like to do as for my social media is create a week's worth of Twitter content, for instance, where all I have to do is, oh, I know that I want to post that tweet at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. I just go in, copy it, paste it, and it's gone. It's done. If you have photos, you would find your photo for that as well. So batch that content, and then here's an even more tactical side of the creation part. This can be the voice memo or the voice notes on your phone can be your absolute best friend in creating ideas and getting them out of your head. I don't know how many blogs I've written where I've just dictated the blog and the idea into my voice notes, transcribed it later, and then cleaned it up and posted it. So, and I've done that when I've been driving in traffic to get into the office. So, use that voice notes if you're thinking about a social media post. If a social media post that you saw from someone else sparked an idea for you, record your response in your voice notes, dictate, transcribe later when you're doing that batch content creation. I did see another recommendation, another question come in: recommendations for content calendars and a system for creating it. There are, I use Google Calendar, right? Just my own personal Google Calendar. So we don't have to go super, super technical. On the other extreme, there are marketing tools like Buffer is the one that we actually use here at The Receptionist to create and schedule and then send out our social media posts. You can also use HubSpot if you use that as your marketing tool. They have a social media calendaring and creation tool and distribution tool as well. So the first one that I talked about was Buffer, and then HubSpot are the two that we use. But yeah, it doesn't have to be
Edgar.
What's that?
We use Meet Edgar.
Meet Edgar, right? There are a bunch out there.
Yeah. I think for me, the big thing about content calendars is figuring out what you can do consistently. So to think about, like, how are we educating? How are we entertaining? How are we, just building awareness? And to say, okay, if every Monday was going to be something educational and every Wednesday was going to be something in the news that we commented on, to just have what's that pattern that you can get into until it feels really natural, and then maybe add something else to it. And so that you're not saying, oh my gosh, I have to do all this stuff all at once. But to just start to say, what do we want to do that can really kind of help over time. I had some questions about both SEO and website building. So if you're looking for a website where you can kind of pay a monthly fee and it's like leasing a car or leasing a website, Brighter Vision's a great option. It's $59 a month. Also, I think you get 2 months for free if you are in Next Level Practice. So brightervision.com/Joe. You can get that deal. Also, we are creating websites. We have an IT team now that's in-house. We were sick of referring out and then filling up people, and then they didn't do websites anymore. So for people that do want to, build your own website, have it be yours, you're not paying that monthly fee except for hosting. Just email Jean it's just it@practiceofthepractice.com. He'll meet with you, talk about your project. And if it's a simple project, then it's a simple price. If it's more advanced, then he'll just share that with you. Same with SEO. We're doing some of that as well. Let's see, anything else? Nothing else there. Just a reminder, tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we have our virtual happy hour. Grab the drink of your choice, whether that's kombucha, maybe it's some sleepy time tea or a glass of wine or whatever you want. And come hang out with us. It's totally social. We're not recording it. It's just getting to know other people in our field, hopefully making some friends and contacts, and being able to just celebrate Level Up Week. Then tomorrow morning, first thing, 10 o'clock Eastern, we have Rocky, our Profit First professional, is going to be talking about money in private practice. Also, make sure you check your email first thing tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. That email should come out. Our daily digest will have all of the recordings from today, as well as all of the events for that day, all of our winners from our $31,000 in prizes, and links to whichever community you want to level up into. Grab your spot in those communities quickly, because a lot of those bonuses are limited to the number of people. Thank you so much for hanging out with all of us today. I'll talk to you all at the happy hour. See y'all. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today and going through this Level Up Week training. Again, don't forget to sign up for Level Up Week. It's starting in just a little bit here, September 18th through 21st. We are going to have so many great trainings on starting a private practice, growing a group practice, and even starting a group practice, as well as passive income and so many other things that are really going to help you level up quickly. It is an intense week of trainings to help you level up quickly. You can sign up for that over at practiceofapractice.com/level up. And we could not do this show without our amazing sponsors. Sponsors like Therapy Notes. Therapy Notes is the best electronic health records out there. You can sign up over at therapynotes.com. Use promo code Joe at checkout to get 2 months totally free. And thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have an amazing day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.